Here we go. I'm going to get this set up while everybody is just coming on in. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We have Dr. Gleb Sapersky here with us. He's going to be talking about AI agents in non-destructive testing. He is the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts. Let's go to the next. There we go. All right, so our Q&A and our chat are going to be open for the entirety of the session today. All questions will be held until the end. So if anything comes up during the presentation, feel free to go ahead and put that in the Q&A, and then we will address those within the last 10 to 15 minutes of the session. All right, so that's all I have for housekeeping. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Gleb, I will turn it over to you, and we'll get started.
Excellent. All right, everyone. So let's talk about AI agents in non-destructive testing. That's going to be the goal of our presentation. So I'm going to share my screen first. Let's... Excellent. So you should be able to see my screen now and the PowerPoint. Now, what I want to share first for logistics, if you aren't able to see the screen fully, click on the top right on the view and make it full screen. Sometime that way you'll be able to see the slides fully. So that's kind of just one thing to keep in mind. Now, second thing to keep in mind, I know that a number of you are coming in live, which is great. But if you are watching in this as a recording, that's also great. If you want to get the post-training tools and resources on how to develop AI agents as non-destructive testing professionals, please go to the link at the bottom of the screen. So you should see the link, so the tinyurl.com, you don't need to go to www, just tinyurl.com/GAEEVENT to get the resources. tinyurl.com/GAEEVENT. So that's tinyurl.com/GAEEVENT. So that you get the resources from this presentation, all the prompts that we'll be talking about, lots of stuff that you won't get just from listening to it and just checking it out. So again, tinyurl.com/GAE-event to get the resources. All right, logistics taken care of. Let's talk about developing AI agents in non-destructive testing. And we'll be doing some demos during the presentation, so pay attention. So here's the agenda that I want to start with. So just something that you can anticipate will be in the presentation. We'll talk about what modern NDT is like, including what impact generative AI tools can have on it. Then specifically AI agents. What are they? How are they different from other tools? What can you do with them? Then I'll talk about 5 powerful agent ideas for NDT professionals. And of course, NDT professionals you do all sorts of stuff in non-destructive testing. And so some of these will be more applicable to some of you, some of these will be more applicable to others, but hopefully at least one of them, and hopefully 2 or more, will be applicable to each of you. Then I will show you something that pretty much, I would say, almost all NDT professionals have to deal with, which is generating reports on your testing. There are very few NDT professionals I can think of who don't have to generate reports. So I'll show you an actual agent built for ASNT used for generating reports. So this is called an NDT report generator agent. Then I'll tell you about of course, about the upcoming conference on October 6th through 9th, ASNT's conference. And there will be an AI agent workshop there, which you can register for. It's going to be a 1.5-day workshop, pre-conference, and some during the conference, where you can collaborate with your fellow NDT professionals on building AI agents. Now, it's a free workshop, but you need to register for it. Registration is limited to only 20 people, and I'll be facilitating that workshop. So only 20 people can register. So if you think that you want to actually learn hands-on how to build an AI agent, that is going to be the perfect opportunity for you to do so. So register for the workshop at the conference. All right. And then we'll talk about the next steps and how you can get started today and mention briefly some resources that you'll get. And that's, again, what you can get at tinyurl.com/DAE event. All right. So let's talk about what modern and non-destructive testing professionals have to deal with. You have to deal with lots and lots of documents. So thinking about documents, that is a perfect opportunity, not the actual tech tools themselves that you're using. The tools themselves, AI agents are not there yet. The robotics that we have available are not there yet. So they're going to be most helpful to you, these tools, for dealing with documents and dealing with information, dealing with research, dealing with verification. And I'll give you some examples. But that documentation is where the AI tools are going to be great for you. So handbooks, technique sheets, past reports, finding the right information quickly is difficult. Generating the right information quickly is difficult. If you want to train people on your specific methods, that takes a lot of time. Ensuring consistency across reports is something that a lot of NDT professionals struggle with. The solution is a personalized AI assistant, or realistically, set of assistants to deal with specific aspects of your job as a non-destructive testing professional. So imagine an expert assistant who will be trained on all of your documents. It's kind of like a really smart intern. Think about what you can do with someone who's a really smart high school freshman. That is probably about the level of the AI agents that will be available. Maybe a high school senior, maybe a college freshman. So a really smart one who has a knowledge and information bank that is much better and bigger than a freshman, and who would be trained on all of your documents. So the difference would be that they would have a lot more information. They'll be trained on your documents. They might be a little bit less innovative and creative than a really savvy and innovative college freshman. But if you think of someone who just kind of follows directions and does what you tell them, thinking of them as a smart college freshman or smart high school senior who compensates for lack of initiative with a almost unlimited knowledge bank and the ability to be trained on your documents, that's a good way of thinking about it. It can understand NDT terms of all sorts and your specific methodology, what you are dealing with as an NDT professional. It can answer questions and generate documents in seconds. So again, something that's much better than a high school senior or college freshman intern. Another thing that's great about it is it works 24/7. So if you're working on the weekend to deal with the results of a test and generate a report, it can help you there. It never forgets and it ensures consistency. So lots and lots of benefits. Let's talk about first what you already know. Google search is something that, of course, has been widely available for NDT agents, for NDT professionals, finding public web pages, searching the internet for keywords, great. Public ChatGPT, if you have public one, so if you have your own personal account or your company provides access to a ChatGPT or a Copilot or a Gemini or Anthropic Claude, those are all tools that are high quality tools. Those are the 4 high quality tools. You shouldn't be using anything else besides those 4 tools, because other tools are not nearly as high quality as those 4 tools. And you can ask questions about that. I'll be happy to talk about that. So public ChatGPT, those are the 4 public ChatGPTs. Those are the 4 public AI tools that you should be using. It's great for general knowledge, training a massive snapshot of the internet. But public tools, for NDT professionals, of course, aren't going to cover all that you need. They don't know your company's specific procedures. They don't know ASNT's guidelines and standards or other guidelines and standards that you might apply, but presumably you're here, so you're applying ASNT's guidelines or standards. They don't have access to your private reports or manuals. If you upload your proprietary data to them, they can be a security risk if you don't have an enterprise version. So this is something you're welcome to ask questions about, and we can talk about data privacy and risk management, but the basic principle is that if you are using a business enterprise version of Claude, that's with Anthropic, enterprise version of Copilot, enterprise version of ChatGPT, or enterprise version of Gemini, your documents are going to be stored on your server. They're not going to be trained and used for other purposes by the company. If you're not using an enterprise version, if you're using a personal account and you're using a paid account, you have to specifically look at the default settings and take specific steps to opt out, because by default, you'll be opted into, in most cases, you'll be opted into your data being used to train AI tools. And so unless you're quite savvy about your data privacy and you're willing to sacrifice some features that come with enabling data privacy protections, which, for example, Gemini, Google's Gemini doesn't store your chats consistently across time unless you allow them to train their model on chats. So that's an example of where you would have to choose whether to have high quality or data privacy. And there are other sorts of trade-offs that you have to think about. Moreover, their answers can be too generic for specialized NDT work that aren't really customized to your specific needs. So what you want to do is build a tool that's much more specific to you, to your specific needs. An AI tool, an AI agent that knows your NDT documents and only your NDT documents. It's not polluted by other sources. So that's going to be something for you to think about. Access your trusted information that you're comfortable with because it lives within your own environment, and the company guarantees by terms of service full privacy and security. And I know some people are concerned about, their terms of service, but let me tell you that if a company violates its terms of service, if it's ever found out, that Microsoft or OpenAI or Anthropic or Google said that they won't train on your data, and then they train on your data, you have a very huge reputational hit and a major class action lawsuit waiting to happen. That will cost the company many, many billions of dollars. They are not really willing to take those sorts of risks. So for enterprise versions, you can be very confident and safe and secure that your data is not going to be used to train models. That's what a custom AI agent can do. So it can give you access to your trusted information and use that information to train tools. It's a private and expert system that you truly control. All right. So custom AI agent. Think of it as that digital apprentice. And I told you about the level. Think of it as a smart high school freshman, high school senior / college freshman. That's who you want to be thinking of this. You train on your expert knowledge and it learns to perform specific tasks for you. That's what a custom AI agent can do. It's built from 3 core components. One is the LLM. So I told you about the 4 large language model tools that you should be using. Microsoft Copilot. So if you're a Microsoft shop, I strongly recommend that you go with Microsoft Copilot. That's a great tool, and it has a lot of benefits if you are specifically a Microsoft shop. So that's totally advisable, great tool. If you're not a Microsoft shop already, then there are 3 other tools to consider, and you should not be going with Copilot because Copilot is something like $30 per month, and it's really meant to be integrated with other Microsoft services, whereas other tools are going to be So ChatGPT is going to be something like, I think, $25 per user per month for the enterprise version. Anthropic is Claude will be probably something similar. Google Gemini will be something similar. So it's going to be cheaper and it's going to be easier to integrate with other tools than Copilot. So if you're not Microsoft Shop, you should not be thinking about using Copilot. You should be thinking about using one of the other tools. Now, if you're Google Shop, that's easy. If you use lots of Google Docs and Google Sheets, that's easy. You can use Google Gemini. If you don't use those extensively, or if you use some Microsoft, some Google, some other stuff, then you want to think about two other tools. You want to think about Anthropic Claude or ChatGPT. Anthropic Claude is going to be best for security. So from a security and privacy perspective and safety, Anthropic has been a leader in that field. They've been really doing great work in security, in privacy. That's kind of what it's going to be. If you think of Apple, so if you use Apple and you like the privacy and security brand focus of it, Anthropic Claude is going to be your go-to tool. If ChatGPT is going to be also a great tool, so OpenAI's ChatGPT, also a great tool, and I'll be showing you a demo using that. The benefit of using ChatGPT is that you get more uses per dollar. So Anthropic Claude, it's going to limit you more extensively. So let's say you can use it, you could maybe use something like for the most advanced version, which is currently Opus 4.1, you can maybe do something like 15 or 20 queries before it sets a limitation of several hours pause. And that's because people are just using it and they don't have as much money as OpenAI does, and so their servers aren't as big and good. ChatGPT, you can probably use it for something like 40 to 50, maybe even more. The most advanced models, which is ChatGPT, ChatGPT 5 Thinking. If you use that, you can use something like 40 or 50 times within a reasonably short period of time before they limit you. So if you're going to use it extensively, that is a benefit. So those are the trade-offs that you want to be thinking about. Do you want to have more data privacy and security with basically your usage has to be a little bit less, you have to use it a little bit less frequently, otherwise they'll lock you out for several hours because they don't have servers that can handle the capacity. Now, OpenAI has quite a bit more money than Anthropic. And Anthropic, by the way, you don't have to worry about its money. It has recently had a $13 billion raise at something like 180 billion valuation. So it has money. It just doesn't have as much money and as much servers. And so it limits money and servers compared to OpenAI. So GPT-5, Claude Opus 4, Gemini 2.5 Pro, those are the free tools that you want to be thinking about if you're not thinking about using Copilot. And like I said, you should be using Copilot if you're a Microsoft shop. Think of it as a brilliant new hire, fresh from university, like a not graduate, but from a university, but college freshman is a good, like a first year, someone who is doing an internship during their first year with all the benefits. It can read, write, and reason with incredible skill, but no NDT experience. So that's the brain. That's the LLM, large language model. Then the knowledge. So you give that brain your knowledge, the training material you provide to the brain, your handbooks, your SOPs, your reports, your techniques, your manuals, all of that stuff. The agent will rely on that information. It won't search the public internet for answers unless you direct it to do so. And you can, depending on the functionality of the tool. So depending on the functionality of the tool, you can direct it to search the internet, or you can direct it to search certain websites like the ASNT website. And that is guidance you can give it. So that's the knowledge base. So that's the second component. So again, first component, the brain, the large language model. Second component is the knowledge base that you provided. And third is the instructions, your skill. So you give the agent its job description, and you have to give it a very thorough job description. I'll show you what I mean. Simple, plain English instructions. And that's a nice thing. This is natural language programming. It doesn't take any coding knowledge at all. Now, it does take knowledge in how to do natural language programming. And so that's a lot of what we'll spend time on at the workshop, at the conference, will be how to write appropriate instructions. And I will give you guidance on how to do so, and some of the post-training materials that I will send you, which is, as I mentioned, going to be at tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT, will be how to write those instructions. That's the secret sauce. So the secret sauce is really the instructions, natural language programming. You'll spend most of your time and effort on this. You'll need to experiment with different types of instructions to figure out what works best. So again, if you have a decent grasp of English, you can do it, but you need to learn. This is a learnable skill, but it takes a while to learn. And the workshop will, of course, be the introduction to it. Now, my expertise, I've been doing this I've been working on the future of work and decision-making for over 25 years, and within generative AI tools ever since before ChatGPT. And so I'm very familiar with how to develop these tools. I work with all sorts of companies, manufacturing companies, with NDT professionals all the time to develop tools. I'll show you an example of these tools. But I have a lot of experience in developing these instructions. And so you can learn these skills. It's a learnable skill. If I can do it, you can do it. Okay. How does it all work together? So you ask the agent, you give it a prompt in plain text. It thinks, looking at its knowledge library, and looks at your instructions. That's the skill base, and then it acts. It answers and provides an answer based only on your data. So an agent, for a tool to be an agent, it has to really combine these three elements. It has to have information. It has to have the smart language model behind it. It has to have a knowledge base, and it has to have your instructions. Why does this matter? Well, it gives you answers that are very relevant, hyper-relevant answers. It uses your trusted data and proprietary data. It gives you total data privacy, doesn't leave your secure environment, perfect consistency, correct answer every time, and efficiency. Now, let me give you clarity. It doesn't give you the same answer every time in terms of how it formats the document and the exact phrasing of the language, but it will give you the correct answer, the one that follows your instructions. The nice thing about one of the reasons that large language models are good is that they can be creative enough to give varying answers. But the answers will be consistent with each other. They'll just use different words to describe the same idea, like an article would use different words to describe the same idea. And it's powerful and efficient. It automates repetitive tasks, and it frees up your time as an expert to focus on much more important things. So let's talk about 5 powerful agent ideas that you can build, so you know what I'm talking about. One is the report generator that I mentioned before. One is a selector for methods and advisor on what methods to choose. One is a technique sheet generator, so generating technique sheets. Then a buyer guide advisor, looking at how to purchase the right equipment, and an equipment advisor. What equipment is best used for which purpose? So, what's an NDT report generator? What it does is it transforms raw data into complete and formatted reports, saving you tons of time in the process. Reduces report writing time from hours to minutes, ensures consistent terms and formatting every time. Follows your standards and procedures, and of course, you'll want to review and approve it before finalizing the report and submitting it. So that's one example. And I bet that this would be useful to like 80 to 90% of you. This sort of very helpful tool. Then, method selector and advisor. So it recommends optimal methods for NDT based on material geometry and defect type. So you put that information into a tool, and it ranks methods by effectiveness, cost, and time requirements. It can highlight the limitations and the challenges for each method, It cites the relevant standards and procedures from your own library, and it helps current technicians, of course, choose the right ones, but it's especially going to be helpful for training new technicians on method selection rationale. So helpful for current folks and especially helpful for junior folks. Then a technique sheet generator. It creates detailed technique sheets for any method in NDT, includes step-by-step procedures, equipment lists, safety protocols, all that good stuff. Ensures compliance with ASNT standards, your company procedures, whatever other standards you want to upload into it if you are thinking about your specific industry. Updates automatically when standards or procedures change if you link it to those standards and procedures. So if you tell it to look at a website or so on where those can be updated, or you can have notification when standards and procedures are updated, and you can take those, download those, and upload those into your agent. There are ways of doing each. Of course, it's a little bit more difficult to have automatic updates, but you can certainly do it. And of course, it allows for expert review and approval before finalization, which you should be doing for all of these agents. Buyer Guide Advisor. It helps you make informed equipment purchasing decisions. So when you're thinking about what to purchase, your procurement process helps you choose the best things, compares features, specifications, and prices across various vendors, analyzes cost-benefit ratios, your ROI for different equipment options, looks at your organization's past purchasing experiences, and generates detailed purchase justification reports, which is quite helpful and saves you a lot of time when you're thinking about making a major purchase. And finally, an equipment advisor. So it monitors equipment health and performance based on things that you upload into it, creates and manages maintenance schedules, provides step-by-step troubleshooting guidance, can track calibration history and predict recalibration needs. You can maintain complete equipment history for compliance. So again, quite useful tool. All right, how do you actually implement this? So you then gather your NDT documents, manuals, and reports, and process the documents into a searchable knowledge base. Then that's the knowledge base creation. Then you define the agent's purpose and write instructions. So that's the instruction part of it. You test and refine it, how it works, and you roll it out to your team with training and support. So at this stage, before I go on to the specific steps, I want to give you an example of this tool and what it can do. So again, if you have any questions at any stage, just put that into the Q&A and we'll get to it later during the presentation. So this is a tool using ChatGPT for report generation. Converts prompts into compliant NDT deliverables with minimal follow-ups. So let's look at a typical prompt. Let's say you're doing ultrasonic testing of pipeline girth weld. And here's what you come up with. So ultrasonic testing, UT pipeline, your prompt, generate the full 18 deliverable pipeline for ultrasonic testing of pipeline girth weld GW 22134 per API and 1104 using the technique. So we have technique, equipment, frequency, dot curve, coverage, indications, acceptance criteria, inspector, signatures, and so on. So this is information that you would have in your notes to create a report, right? Like pretty standard information on this ultrasonic testing methodology. And so you get that information and you just click enter. And then let's see what it does. And so this is just a tool. And I'll show you the back end of this tool. So you could see the analysis process. So using Python script, importing various information, pre-flight gate, ensuring code interpreters available, and so on. Now it's recompleting file name. So this will take like about a minute, which is fine. Just keep in mind that it takes a little bit of time. Canonical source content, scope and references, setup and calibration. So you don't have to, by the way, I'm just showing you this information. You don't have to look at this information. One of the nice things is that you can go and do something else, check your email, or do some other work. But here I'm just going to be showing you what's going on, what it's doing. If you want to track what it's doing to make sure that it's doing the right things, you can take a look at making sure that it's doing the right things. Coverage and volume, disposition, result. So it's tracking this rejection issue. Okay, so it's creating a report, information, analysis text, appraisal of method and suitability, recommendations, budget consideration, key factual outcomes, and here it's creating some documents. So you could see that this is just a document creation process. Next actions, talking about what should be done, decisions needed. And I will show you what goes on in the back end of this tool after we see the outcome. So we see that there was a issue with generating a report, and it's rebuilding it and auditing it. All right. So when we go to the top, take out, so an analysis, the first one error, then it did a reanalysis and made sure that it's correct. All right. So here are the 18 full deliverables for the ultrasonic testing report. So think about this report that it gives you. So ultrasonic testing, inspection of pipeline Girfweld, you can copy the code if you want to like see the actual report in normal form. No, but this is just for quality code. So it gives you the report in JSON form, the analysis of it, and a memo for a supervisor. So let's download a zip file with all this information. Okay, so as you can see, just clarifying that it downloads, it creates a zip file as well as individual files. You can download each of those with reports in a variety of formats. So think about how much time it would take you to create a report in a variety of formats, an analysis in a variety of formats, a supervisor memo in a variety of formats, and a manifest and an audit, and the zip archive. Now let me show you what happens within the archive. Let's see. So this is what it downloaded. Let's see the report. So you should be able to see the report. Ultrasonic testing analysis. Source basis, the examination was performed. All of this evaluation criteria, personnel qualified, appraisal of method. It's appraising the method is appropriate for pipeline Girfwelds, ensuring full fusion phase coverage. So it's able to evaluate that it's appropriate. Performance sensitivity inspection achieved 100% weld volume, one planar level It detected a planar lack of fusion defect, 8 millimeters in length, above the AC. This exceeds ISO level C, which allows, no, so the weld is rejected and gives a confidence level. So you put in, so it doesn't automatically reject or accept anything. It actually evaluates and knows what the standards are. Recommendations. The weld must be repaired and subjected to repeat inspection. Recommended increased monitoring of similar welds, confidence rating and functions, assumptions and issues, no access restrictions required, and so on. Budget considerations, repair and reinspection expected, right? So this is the report information. So this is the, I'm sorry, this was the analysis information. Let's look at the report. So the report is giving a little bit more of a report without as much analysis. One relevant indication observed, no other disposition, weld required. And so this gives a report without an analysis. So if you want to separate, so this tool gives you a separate analysis, which was the first one I showed, and then the report. And then provides a supervisor memo. So memo to your supervisor about what's going on. So subject, perform and evaluate against, links, gives you the links, why it matters section, evaluation, planar defects are not permitted, compliance requires repair before service. What was done, explains what was done, key factual outcomes, disposition weld rejected requires repair, risk and impact. So this is a serious issue, repair and repeat required, decisions needed, and next action. And so this tool that I just showed you provides both in text, all of this you can read over here. But it not only provides you with all of this in text, you don't have to then copy paste it everywhere and just figure out how to create the documents. It creates documents for you in JSON format, in text format, in doc format, in PDF format. So whatever formats that it's useful for you. So all of these documents you can download and use whatever you need. Okay, so hopefully hopefully that was helpful for you as a live demo of what an agent can do for you. And once at the workshop at the conference, I will explain how I created the agent and go through all the backend and the instructions and the prompts of how you actually create these agents. But let me tell you briefly about the implementation process. So, gathering documents. All NDT documents that are relevant, handbooks, technique sheets, reports and standards, PDFs, Word documents, and more. Again, if your documents are kept private, not trained on, prioritize documents that are most relevant to the task, of course. Then creating a knowledge base. So you want documents are processed automatically within the backend of the tool, converted to a machine readable format. That's content is structured in a knowledge base. Information is indexed for efficient retrieval, and connections are established. Then, at that point, the skill component. Define the agent's specific scope and purpose, identify the primary users and their needs, outline the key tasks, draft the agent's instructions in plain English, and configure the agent's technical parameters. Then test and refine. Test it with real-world scenarios, evaluate how accurate it is, how relevant it is, how complete its answers are, and refine the instructions based on feedback. Conduct the user acceptance testing with your team and improve performance through iteration. And then deploy. Deploy it within your secure parameter. Provide training sessions for your team as part of the deployment. Create user documentation and best practices. Have ongoing support and maintenance, and then monitor usage, collect feedback, and improve. So iterate and improve over time. So that's the 5 steps that you would want to take. Then looking at your ROI and savings, you'll reduce a lot of time. So think about the tasks that it previously would have taken to generate a report, an analysis, a supervisor menu, and a supervisor memo, and a JSON format for machine readable. for each of those, all created for you in PDF, text, and Word formats. That just saves you a ton of time, 60 to 80%. Ensure 100% adherence to standards and procedures, you'll do that. Preserve expertise even as staff retire, and free up experts to focus on high-value activities. So this is an opportunity for you to put your knowledge into practice at the conference. You'll join a hands-on workshop to design and build your own AI agent. Again, free to attend, but registration needed, and we'll form teams at the workshop. Oh, hold on for a second. Okay, so you weren't able to see my screen. So sorry about that. Here's the ROI and benefits. Same thing I talked about, but with nicer graphics. So putting this knowledge into practice at the conference. It's free to attend, again, but registration is required, and it's limited to 20 people. So you want to go and register. We'll form teams of 2 to 3 at the workshop. And I will right now ask you whether you want more information about the conference workshop. So please go ahead and answer whether you want more information about the conference workshop. You'll see a poll, a Zoom poll, that you'll be able to use to answer whether that's of interest to you. So let's take a little bit of time. Please go ahead and respond whether you're interested. I see about 50% of the people responded. Great. Let's get that up. Make sure everyone has a chance to vote. Give 5 more seconds for those folks who haven't had a chance to vote yet. All right, great. So we see 2/3 of you are interested. That's excellent. And you'll get more information about it. All right. So the Innovation Challenge workshop, I should mention the schedule so that you notice. It's going to be the pre-conference session will be Monday, October 6th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's the workshop. Then the guided AI agent build session after that. And so we'll have that. I think it'll be ending a little bit earlier than that. It's not quite the right schedule because the general sessions, I think, will start at 3:30. So maybe it'll end at 3:30. Then we'll have a final build session, Q&A, followed by team presentations and judging. So you'll have team presentations. Each team will present its own version, and then there will be a final judgment and evaluation. So that's going to be the structure of the workshop. All right, everyone. Key takeaways. You now have the most valuable ingredient. You already have the most valuable ingredient for powerful AI, which is your expert knowledge. And so building that useful AI agent is accessible to you right now and doesn't require coding skills. And the technology can immediately help you save time, reduce errors, and ensure consistency. To get started, you want to identify one task, one repetitive and information-heavy task. Gather your knowledge of 5 to 10 related documents to start with before you feed more. Explore platforms. I told you about the 4 platforms that you should be using. That's the brain. Get training. Register for a workshop. I'll be also happy. I'll tell you about the post-training resources to do a pro bono coaching session. Start small and experiment. You can build a useful agent in a few hours if you dedicate yourself to it. You won't build quite the agent that is your report generator, but you'll still build something quite useful for yourself over this time. All right. And for post-training resources and support, as I mentioned, go to tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT for these resources. I'll send you a copy of my book, ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, which has a lot of information on how to actually build AI tools. Schedule a free coaching meeting with me. I'll help you, guide you through building your first AI agent, and I'll send you a copy of today's presentation slides. So again, that's going to be at tinyurl.com DAE event for people who are not currently live. For those who are, here's a poll for getting these post-training resources. So please go ahead and vote on whether you would like to get these post-training resources. So a copy of my book, a free coaching meeting with me, and a copy of today's presentation slides. And again, if you're not here currently live, you should go to tinyurl.com/DAE-EVENT. Again, tinyurl.com/DAE event. tinyurl.com/DAE-EVENT to get the resources from this presentation. All right, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation and found it valuable. And I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have at this stage. And I see about 3/4 of you participate in the poll. So please do vote in the poll if you haven't done so, whether you would like the resources or not. Okay.
All right. All right, Gleb, thank you so much. So we did have one question come in from Robert Weller. He asked if the tool that you were showing can be used to compile reports for from a large spreadsheet.
So what you would do, yes. So what you would do is you would copy paste the information from a spreadsheet that, just like I showed you, I copy pasted it, and you would get a report from the large spreadsheet. So yes, it can be done. You wouldn't upload the spreadsheet. You would copy paste information from a spreadsheet. Now you can try uploading the spreadsheet, and it depends on how it's structured and formatted. It might not interpret it correctly. So what I'd do is I would first try to upload the spreadsheet, and I would see if it correctly interprets the spreadsheet. Because sometimes it can do that, and sometimes it can't, and it depends on which tool you're using. So certain tools, like I think Claude Anthropic would be better at interpreting spreadsheets than ChatGPT. So it just depends on what brain you're using. But it will definitely work if you copy paste information from the spreadsheet directly into the window. So that would be my answer, yes.
All right, so it looks like we had one more question come in. What is your perspective in using Perplexity to build agents, understanding that it offers the option of using a palette of different LLMs?
So Perplexity is not going to be the best tool in terms of the smartness of the versions. It just doesn't have as much resources and data and talent behind it as the 4 tools that I mentioned. So just to be clear, Microsoft uses OpenAI technology. And so OpenAI has the most resources and Google and OpenAI have the most resources and servers. And Anthropic probably has, at this stage, the best team of people. And so the 3 tools that you really want to be using for your brain, you want to be basically using the smartest LLM, large language model available. And so the OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, Google's Gemini will be the smartest available. The Microsoft Copilot uses OpenAI technology, so it's going to be equivalent to OpenAI. And so if you're a Microsoft shop, you just want to go with that. It makes things easy.
Thank you. And we have one more question that came in. Do you have experience in using this tool with digital radiography?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use it for digital radiography, or ultrasonic testing. Yeah, I can, if I had the information from a digital radiography, I would be able to upload that into the NDT generator. At the workshop and the conference, I'll demo all sorts of prompts and how they come out. But yes, it will come out with the same idea, same direction. And I'll explain why, because it has information from ASNT about all the various techniques and technologies used in NDT. So it's able to interpret it and analyze all of them.
Well, that is all I am seeing for questions at the moment. So
All
we
right.
can go ahead and wrap up. If anybody, I did see a couple questions come into the hosts and panelists. If anybody has any questions about how to get registered for Gleb's workshop, please send us an email, education@asnt.org, and we will make sure that it gets to the correct person to help you get registered for that workshop. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen just one more time and go over just a couple closing things before we end the session for today.
Mhm.
Right, share my screen again. All right. Okay. So our next steps, if you would like to get your certificate of attendance for today, you can go ahead and log back into the learning platform where you access the Zoom link for the session. You'll complete the quiz. It's 9 questions. And then once that is successfully passed, you can complete the evaluation survey and then download your certificate. And then while you are on our website completing that, take a look at our upcoming webinars. As always, they are free for members. So go ahead and get registered for some of our upcoming programs while you're at it. Okay, and that's going to be it for today. If anybody needs anything else or has, again, questions about getting registered for Gleb's workshop, feel free to email us at education@asnt.org. Right. And then that's all for today. Thanks again, Gleb, for being with us.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.